It's Easter Sunday. No, it's Easter Monday.
Easter Monday.
And that's the only reason why I know it's Monday, because it was Easter Sunday yesterday. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. Someone sent me a meme saying, this is the days of the week. This day, that day, another day.
Tomorrow, another day.
Tomorrow day.
I've seen that.
Third day. Fourth day or something.
Yeah. Day 24 in the Big Brother house.
Oh,
that means anything to anyone.
Hey, speaking of Big Brother, isn't that amazing? A couple of days ago, or actually more than that, I was watching a bit of the bullshit news, and they were talking about the Big Brother house in Germany. They were going to tell them because apparently they didn't know in the Big Brother house, because they keep it secluded as far as
news,
social media, and told them that actually, guess what,
guys?
Is
it going on now? Is it going on right now? Is it?
There's coronavirus in Germany, and you're probably in the best place, so don't kill each other.
Yeah. By the way, 10,000 people have died. Jeez, yeah. If you come out of that, talk about social isolation. That's a whole different level, isn't it? You don't know anything that's happened, and something that serious that's happened is that would be quite a nightmare, wouldn't it? As blimey, something of a shock. And there's Kubrick Lover. Good morning, Kubrick Lover. How you doing? Hope you're good.
G'day, Kubrick Lover. Hey, when does your clocks go back or forward?
They have.
Oh, they have. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so we're
good for the next 6 months.
Okay. Shit, I'm just trying to remember when our clocks go for. I think it's
yours been
August.
done last week.
No, when they go forward again.
I see.
I think ours is August.
Yeah. I looked this up the other day, and it had the not till it's kind of September kind of thing, isn't it? When does summertime change? They are. So yours, it's 5th of April 2020. When's the? Let's see. When's your next one? 27th of September.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought August, September, something like that. So, okay.
27th. Yeah, 27th.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Hopefully we'll be back to completely normal by September. Eh? That'll be nice, wouldn't it? Going away for your Christmas holiday, and you'll be able to stand next to people at the barbecue and
in the barbecue hut. Well, I hope yes. But I do. I mean, I do think it's going to be another couple of months, isn't it? We're going to have another month here of shutdown and stuff. That's it's going to be till the end of May at the the very least.
Oh shit.
Yeah, well, if your plan, most countries, New Zealand seems to be doing very well about it, but us not so well. Our plan is to flatten the curve so that the NHS doesn't get overwhelmed. But at some point, there's going to be, at some point they're going to reopen the country, and a whole load of people who haven't had it, like me, they're going to be more likely to get it because, and then what they hope, I think they don't mind, technically they don't mind if I get it. What they mind is if there's no hospital bed for me.
Well, I'm hoping that your leaders are going to have the guts to come out and say it, because our leader, as much as I don't like her politically, or 90% of anything else that her and her party have done over the last 3 years, at least she's made a very clear stance, Simon, by saying that people won't be coming to New Zealand for a long time.
No, and I think she's got a lot of praise around. I've seen a lot of praise around the world for her. For her.
So you guys have to do the same thing. You can't come to the UK.
That's right. Well, you know that that's not going to happen, don't you? You know that London, because we're leaving the EU, the one thing they need to do is to keep London being the hub, the business hub of a lot of things, because
you can do that without people coming in, surely. You can still
Well, I
do
hope you can.
trade and
Well, I hope you can. Yeah, yes, I hope you can. But
what's the point in having tourists from Italy come to London? Sure, okay, fair enough. You're not going to get half your pubs full of people buying beer and some of your cafes and stuff like that. But I think, Simon, most of us have had a bit of time for us to realize that the world that we live in is going to be different in some weeks. We're not going to be traveling. You're not going to be going to Italy, Simon, for a couple of years. You won't be going to Italy for a couple of years.
no, well, I don't think I'll be going. Yes, I hope I go next year, and I'd hope it'd be next year. But I don't think I'll be going this year. I mean, Ian's put it back to sort of October, but I don't think it'll be October.
No,
to be honest.
No. You go to Brighton. Go ring up Rabea and go
to Brighton.
Go hang out with Rabea.
I can take. If I go to Brighton, I can take all my guitars. I can take everything I've got. But put it all in my car. Yeah. Whereas Italy's a bit of a different matter. But no, I agree. I mean, and in some ways, I do hope the world is changed by this. That we do things differently. I think there is an opportunity here for, that.
So Kubrick Love is saying that the situation in the States is dire. Yeah, it is.
Well,
I'd hate to be in America.
So would I.
Have you heard anything about like Caleb? Has he said anything on social media, or Johnny, or Kubrick Lover? Kubrick Lover, when are they telling you that you guys are going to come out of quarantine? Have they given you any ideas? They're saying to us that our lockdown will finish here about the 26th of April, but they could extend it. Are they telling you guys anything over there when you can go back to work to the library? Have you heard anything about Caleb, LA, Simon, when they're going to be, because he's been on lockdown for a while?
Yeah, I've heard nothing about them coming out of it. I mean, they all seem to be okay, but let's have a look. Blimey, they've had nearly 500,000 cases and 18,000 people have died. But it doesn't, it's the thing is, as Carl was saying the other day, that they've got a kind of that tiered system, haven't they?
Yes.
Where the governors seem to be able to have a massive amount of power, can do I don't know what I'm paraphrasing a bit, but seemingly can do what they want, to a massive extent, and they can kind of.
Well, Carl was telling me that a governor could close the border. Do you call it the border? Is that what the state lines?
State lines. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're the governor of Kentucky, you can close the state lines to only essential transport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the Great Vanzini, so they'll probably be doing that soon, won't they?
Hi, Great Vanzini.
I'm sure the states will be closing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends on how they're going to do it, isn't it? I mean, they might, because they've got different responses. Different governors seem to have quite different responses to it and stuff like that. People without many, many outbreaks, seemingly sort of, not really closing the stuff. I mean, maybe they all have now, but
so
last week
saying here that the New York and New Jersey governors are doing a good job. It's just you. It's just you know who's causing. Okay, yeah, okay.
What, Voldemort?
All right. Yeah. Yeah. We just hope that. A friend of mine sent me an interesting link. I don't know how true it is, but it came from CNN, which tends to tell the truth, saying that China is thwarting any kind of research into actually finding out how coronavirus started.
Yeah, I saw another article yesterday. You've got to be careful. This was via the Sun newspaper. The Sun newspaper in the UK is a kind of is a red top tabloid. Not, you have to be very careful with the truth of those things. But was saying that that it looks like it was from the bat. It is a bat virus that they did some stuff to. They were investigating in that lab in Wuhan.
So the
I don't know.
Van Zen's governor's doing a good job, and he's from Oregon, isn't he? So that's good.
Yeah. Is it the New York one is Cuomo, is it? Is it Michael
Cuomo.
Cuomo?
Kind of.
Yeah. Kubrick was saying China blocked the citizen and telling correct. I was reading that article just now, Andrew, before we went on.
Yeah.
I was reading that article and kind of what did I do then? I was just that's right. Well, because I'm interested in obviously China is obviously trying to limit the fact that it's that it started there, and it's trying to limit the amount of information that comes out because he thinks it will damage its reputation and its standing on the world stage.
Simon,
they're doing,
it's backfired already. It's backfired for China. It's it'll never be the same for China again, unfortunately.
That's right. See, Cuomo, Simon the Governor's Cuomo. They are. Something sunk into the old mind, Kubrick Lover. You see, but I think he's done. I've seen him on the radio, on the TV. Seems to be doing a good job, of kind of, and in the face of massively difficult circumstances, of inevitably, and our government's been criticised for the same thing. It's very interesting, that they had these daily briefings with representatives, and there's been quite a lot of complaints about the soft soaping of the politicians and stuff. And like the questions have been very kind of soft and not very probing and not very sort of hard nosed about it and stuff. So I think there are quite a lot of hard questions to be asked about about, to be honest, how any government has reacted to this, and how and I think that your government, Andrew, Justin Ardern, she seemed to have done much more the right thing than maybe our government did in the beginning. Got on it hot and got on it early.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's going to backfire. We've got the Liberals. We've got the Liberals in this country now, which is quite interesting because Liberals are of degrees, obviously, because the government we've got in is a Liberal government. So we've got Liberals being upset with the Liberal government because the government is saying that they're going to close the borders to specifically China and that part of the region. So. And I'm standing there going, well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, because what's a government's first responsibility is to look after its citizens. And then if you're going to be a government and you're going to be a player on the world stage, Simon, like we have for the last 50 to 60 to 70 years within our orbit of interests, we do communicate with each other. There is a history of communication, Simon. If this virus had developed in the UK, Australia, Canada, or New Zealand, I'm telling you now, it wouldn't be buried. It would have been like, Simon, we've got a problem here. Do you guys know? Can you help us?
Yeah. Oh, completely. I think that's right. I think that that only closing it to China. I'd be tempted to close it to almost everybody. Never mind just China, but it's
well, specifically they're saying China at the moment because there's a lot of business interest here in New Zealand, a lot of investment from China, a lot of students taking advantage of the tertiary education that we have here. So they're limiting that now, and a lot of people, the problem that you've got in the Labour Party is that you've got a lot of people supporting the government saying, we've got to keep the country safe, Simon. I'm sure. I've been reading a bit of news over the last couple of hours. I won't be surprised if they close London down. I won't be surprised. They're talking about it now. Because you just said it earlier that it's your business. It's your it's London just isn't for England. London is a financial centre for the world, Simon.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, well, yeah, and then how do you deal with that in the face of, as you say, having to close it down more? I mean, although I don't think there isn't a huge amount more. Yeah. Yeah, let's not go there. It's Kubrick lover. I mean, I agree with you. I think that right now we're on sort of week 4 of and I've been out 4 times in 4 weeks, maybe 5. I've been shopping once a week. Other than that, we've not been out at all. Caroline's been out once, maybe once to do some shopping. But other than that, we've not been out. Most of the people now. Some people I know, my next door neighbour, Steve, next door, he's been building at the local the University of the West of England, which is in Bristol, the other university in Bristol. He's been converting that into a massive hospital. He spent the last 2 weeks converting it into a massive hospital.
So Kubrick's just reminding us, Simon, that it's not a political show.
Yes, Kubrick. Yes, Andrew. Yes.
No, it's a guitar show. And speaking of guitar shows, I'm on fire with the Beano. I've dug out a couple of magazines that I bought a couple of years ago that came out.
Let's get on the guitars quick.
There's an interesting quote here from Vernon, which I think is pretty good. So let me just show you what Vernon says there. Can you read that?
Mike Vernon, there he is. Why are we still talking about the Beano 50 years on? Because it's fucking great album. That's why. Yeah. Well, because it's still influential. It is, isn't it? It is still influential.
I like you English guys. You're always straight to the point, eh? Because it's a fucking great album.
Enough said, yeah. I don't know have you come across any kind of interviews with Mike Vernon? He seems like a really interesting guy in that sort of scene, doesn't he?
See, I'm glad you've hit the nail on the head. I think this is some research that we have to do, and we've spoken about him before in other shows. We've made the connection between John Mayall and Mike Vernon being, father figures in the electric blues scene. But I don't think there's no biography on Vernon. There's nothing.
No, my point, that he seems to have been very influential in the 60s about, recording these things and stuff, not only the Yardbirds, but, and yet, you get the odd quote from him here and there, but you don't get a kind of rounded picture of where he comes from, what he's into, how he did stuff, and I think that would be interesting. I'll have a look around, see if we could find stuff, because it'd be interesting.
Can I just ask you another question, Simon? So we've got Grant Vanzini in here. Today is Monday, and we need to do a show with Great Vanzini on his jazz fusion adventures.
Whatever.
So when do we want to do that? Wednesday, this time Wednesday? Does that suit you,
Wednesday,
Simon?
Yeah. I've got a couple of days off, so I'm not back to work till Thursday. So, not that it makes any difference much, but yeah. So Wednesday morning is fine for me.
What about you, Great Vanzini? In 2 days' time, this time in 2 days from where you are, does that suit for you to talk to us about your jazz fusion adventure?
We'll see.
Because there's a couple of things I'd like to ask you. I won't ask you now in the chat, but we should ask you obviously when you're on
Wednesday
the show.
will be fine here, which is
awesome.
Tuesday night. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
This time
This time. Okay, yeah. So what I'll do, I think I've got your email somewhere again. So Simon and I will go live. I'll flick you the link, and then you can jump on. Great Vanzini, and yeah. Awesome. Look forward
That'd
to
be
it.
great.
Look,
Yeah.
yeah. We'll see if we can get Carl on too, because he's quite interested in this fact that that you've gone from, and we've made this connection in previous shows, Simon, haven't we, about jazz and blues, and how some of these guys, like last night we were talking about that Irish guy,
Van Morrison. Yeah.
Van Morrison.
Yeah. But the interesting bit is, to me, is that it's always been there, and it goes back to skiffle. I know I keep going on about it, it's like a stuck record, but it goes back to skiffle, because skiffle comes out of jazz. You see, the thing about skiffle is that people like Lonnie Donegan, for instance, the great, the king of skiffle. Basically, what happened is that Chris Barber, who's one of the fathers of British jazz, in the intervals at their gigs, the Chris Barber band, that some of the musicians would have a rest, but then Lonnie Donegan, who played guitar in Chris Barber's band, would get to the front, get on it, and he'd do 15 minutes or whatever of skiffle, of lead belly songs. So that link between jazz and blues has always been there, and the curation of that, by those guys, Chris Barber, and we've talked about John Mayall and Cyril Davis, and that curation through the 50s meant that those jazzers came into contact with skiffle, and came into contact with musicians who came through the skiffle route and the rock and roll route, because obviously skiffle leads back to the blues.
So, Great Vanzini,
those...
did you?
Sorry.
Yeah. So, Great Vanzini, did you guys in America do skiffle at all? Was there any skiffle movement at all? Because we know how important that was, obviously, in the UK. Look at the Beatles, Simon. The Beatles were all skifflers.
And rock and roll. Yeah, no, I've made this connection before. The thing about skiffle and rock and roll is that the thing about skiffle, in fact, you said it last week. You said it last week, is that actually you don't need anything to play it.
No.
You need a tea chest, which you get from your local greengrocer's store, which has had tea in it, or whatever. Sorry, a tea chest. Ha ha! Named in the clues in the name. And you get so you've got a bass, and you've got a washboard from your mum, and if somebody's got an acoustic guitar, bingo, you've got yourself a skiffle band. And the thing about the 50s, the UK in the 50s, very black and white. That we were behind America's, not still rationing hadn't had only just finished, and it's what happens is that all those kids in schools, they all had skiffle bands because it was easy, 2 chords, 3 chords. It's really easy to play.
So skiffle's uniquely English, because the Great Vanzini is saying they never heard of it until the Beatles took hold. So that's uniquely English, Simon.
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, and as I say, it comes out of it comes out of those jazz musicians, being interested in lead belly and stuff, and the country blues thing, and it although it does have its origins in skiffle's an American word. Great Vanzini, you need to pay more attention. Originate in the form in the United States in the first half of the 20th century. Became very popular in the 50s when there was a lot, but it also is a major part in the beginnings of jazz, pop, blues, folk, and rock and roll. And I think that skiffle comes out of obviously New Orleans and things, but there was Dan Burley and his Skiffle Boys in 1929, and or 1946. But but I think it was,
Oh,
it kind of became a big thing here in.
I okay. So I'm seeing the connection. Sometimes you need something to be pointed at you, Simon. Even though you know the answer, you need to be pointed in the. So in America, Simon, they had rockabilly.
Yes, rockabilly and rock and roll. See,
Rockabilly. So
well, you know,
rockabilly would be the
yeah,
American
version.
similar
Yeah.
version.
Well,
Yeah.
well, any of it, I mean, all of it. I mean, if I say Elvis, if you take
Yeah.
Elvis,
He
Elvis
could
is
be a
a great
he could be
example.
a stifler.
Well, he used to stand there with his guitar, didn't he, in the front and
Yeah,
go
yeah.
and crash everything around.
Yeah.
Have you lost me? Yes, well done, sight. Get back up there. Come back. All is forgiven. There we are. I see. He would go.
Yep.
He'd bang away on his guitar, wouldn't he?
Yep.
Well, if
Yep.
if
Yep.
if if that's not skiffle, I don't know what is. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. It's banging away two chords.
Two chords.
It's
Yep.
it
Yep.
and it's comparatively it's simple to play.
Yes.
And so it means that I've said this before as a slightly different thing. It meant that kids could pick it up, easily. The new American youth could pick
Yeah. Yeah.
up
Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
genre, and they
Yeah.
could, without loads of equipment, brass instruments, probably quite expensive, guitars, those sorts of guitars, very cheap, two a penny. You could buy cheap Sears guitars or whatever,
Sure.
and and do that. And I think that is significant. So all those people like Clapton, famously, Jimmy Page, Jimmy Page, aged was it 12 or whatever, on the TV playing skiffle, and and so that kind of simplicity that means that in the 50s. In the late 50s, there were 50,000
Yep.
skiffle groups in the UK. That proves to you how popular it was as a genre, yeah. Which it was
Yep.
massively popular as a as a genre, and as a way of sorry, as a way of musicians, young people getting into and playing music. Because it's something you could play down at the absolutely comes from Hank Williams and all of those kinds of things. So that skiffle comes from Lead Belly and that country blues thing. The sort of Mississippi Delta blues. The country stuff with the acoustic guitar, where you're tapping your foot and you're playing kind of thing. Absolutely, But that Elvis, Elvis is a really good example of somebody, who quite a lot of the time wore in the early days certainly wore a guitar, didn't he? He wore a
Yes.
guitar and he played the sort of the rhythm guitar bit, and that's what it was. It was rhythm, wasn't it? It wasn't wipe my kick down a bit. It's and that's really interesting because I think that and we've talked about it here before, that one of the connections I've made is that the it's my theory, not quite, but one of the things you could say is that was the great. Its simplicity meant that you had 30 to 50,000 skiffle bands in the UK. That means you had 30 to
Yep.
50,000
Yep.
people playing the guitar in the UK. Yeah, I have a population of whatever 40 million or whatever it is. So you've got a mass. That's a massive. Every church hall, every school hall, every coffee bar, could put on skiffle bands. You don't need much space. You didn't need a PA. You just needed, we just needed to bring your kit. Which was it? Glyn Johns, doesn't he talk about taking his T-test based on his bike?
That's correct.
He does,
That's
doesn't he? Yeah,
correct.
and his
Yes.
So you get, yes, absolutely cool. I've seen this video of Jimmy Page playing on skiffle on stage. Now, what happens is those guys, they arrive, they're in to playing music, to playing rock and roll, playing rock music of any kind, is skiffle. And in the 50s, guitar teachers, modern electric guitar, was a thing of the future, a long way in the future. So you had to learn. We've heard Keith Richards, all those people talk about this. You had to learn from records. Well, when you first get a guitar, and I have said it on here before, we've all had this. You say to your friends, you say, I've got a guitar, and what do they say to you? They say, play us a song. So you've got to have a song.
What can you play?
Don't they? That's what you do. They play us a song. Come on, out, show us what you can do. And you have to have a song. Well, if it's Rock Island Line, well, it doesn't take you. You just need a little chord. You need to find out the chord of A and the chord of E, and you can play Rock Island Line because it's pretty much all A. And dang, 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 dang. Oh, Rock Island Line is fun, and off you go. And so quite quickly, you can play a song. When you can play a song, you can do a gig. So all those skiffle bands, they learnt all those Lead Belly songs, all that stuff.
Yep.
All that, that as Great Vanzini said, that kind of strumming, that straightforward strumming. They learn that, and then you can go do gigs. In your local, youth club, church hall, whatever, and so then you can play, and then obviously you can get more sophisticated, as you go along, because you get, that skiffle leads you to the blues. Quite, who's Lead Belly, who anybody else like Lead Belly, and you come up with Jimmy Rogers, and you come up with Muddy Waters, and you get to the, quite quickly that world opens up to you. Getting records was difficult in the 50s. Not much got played. We know that what was it? What was the record that Eric Clapton heard when he was, that kind of, he was just
Big
played
Bill
on
Bruisney,
Big Bill Bruinsy, wasn't it? Yeah, on Family Favourites or
and
two-way. One of those 50s, just appeared out of nowhere and kind of blew him away, wasn't it? Yeah.
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson. Maybe I think probably quite obscure then. Robert Johnson, wasn't he? Maybe not. And we've talked about what Jimmy says he wants. Oh, a marine biologist. That's right. Yeah, he does. Yeah. That's funny. But so I'm making a connection between a simple form of music, a mass youth movement, which leads into an explosion of popular music in the late 50s and the 60s.
Interesting.
Led by the Beatles, and that explosion, the people who, and it's kind of sort of repeated in the punk thing, where what I think what we haven't had since, and is that, Kubrick lover, I'll pick up on your point on that in a minute. That what that gives you, it gives you the attitude of, I could do that, If you're listening to, I've said this before, so if your introduction to the guitar is Eruption, I'm picking on that because with the extreme example, but if your introduction to the guitar is Eruption, it's like, how in God's name do you play that? Where do you even start playing that? Well, the answer is a long way back, and playing that in, for most people who, if you were, 12 or something in 1978, then playing that would be quite an aspirational thing, wouldn't it? Not something you'd have knocked out by next week. Whereas Rock Island Line, you could play next week. Yeah.
Interesting point here that Great Vanzini is making between Elvis and Hank Williams. So
absolutely.
So
in America,
Great Vanzini by Hank Williams type of playing. So was Hank Williams?
Well, Hank Williams had that very straightforward way of playing, didn't he? You know, cowboy chords. You know,
Just the basic rhythm, Simon.
just the
So we're going
basic.
to.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to drop
Yeah.
out soon.
No, you're all right.
No, it's spinning here on my end. So just.
You're not spinning up my.
Yeah, oh,
but
so that's
you know,
interesting that Elvis
Elvis
picked up on that.
You know, Buddy Holly. You know.
Yeah.
Eddie Cochran. That's Eddie Cochran. But you know, those major three chords. You know. You know, those things, that's Buddy Holly, you know, they're three chords. They're really simple to learn. Yeah. There's a bit of, right hand jiggery pokery in the middle, but not really solos, you know, New Orleans. Great spelling, great Anthony. Yeah, I like it.
It's the same thing with Bob Dylan too. You know, you listen to the first couple of albums that it's not you're not buying those albums because you know he's a great guitar player.
But, you know, remember when he was, you know, that thing about him going electric. I mean, when he was 14, he backed Bobby V.
Yeah,
who's a rock and roll artist. You know, so I mean, when he was 14, he was into rock and roll, not into folk. You know, that came later. That was, you know, you know, that's a way of getting out on your own and just with an acoustic guitar and going and playing and doing gigs. You know, there's
haven't been a rhythm guitarist for 30 years of my life. I have to tell you that playing rhythm isn't easy. It's definitely got its own knack. Everybody wants to be the lead guitar player, don't they?
Yeah.
But if you stand up at a gig and you play for 6 hours playing rhythm, it's an interesting sideline in the band. I was always put under the spell by Keith Richards because Keith Richards always went along the pathway saying that a band is only as good as its rhythm guitarist, and that's something that he understood early on. So being a Keith Richards disciple, I'll always say that there's a lot of people that I know that wanted to play guitar over the years, and they've always wanted to go, oh, you know, I want to play some Megadeth, or I want to play something like, you know, and I say, mate, can I tell you something? And they say, what? And I said, look, you're not going to. Just learn to play. Just learn to play some chords. And you know what's interesting? Though most of these guys, and I know a few of them, they gave up within weeks.
Yeah, see,
they gave up.
See my point, because you can't play Megadeth in weeks. So that kind of bears out my sort of theory that actually, and I'm not blaming. It's not, you know, it's just the way that things developed, you know, and I'm just using particularly Eddie Van Halen as the kind of first example of somebody who had a sort of, you know, who promoted, and there were others before him. I'm not suggesting that but you know, in sort of popular rock and roll, he's a kind of watershed moment in that, you know, you had to work up to playing Eruption. I mean, and Kubrick, I was talking about Joshua Jones and stuff like that, and you know, Cameron Brown and things, you know. But these guys, they are young and they are incredibly technical. You know, they've all had lessons. They've all done, you know. But the point is, they've all been playing for years. They've all had lessons, you know, and they're all well versed in the technique of playing the guitar. You know, it's and those things were not available to people, which is why the guitar is sort of dying, because it can't, you know, you can't mass market Eruption. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? In the same way, you know, 50,000 people are not forming a band having heard Eruption. 50 people are forming a band having heard Eruption. Does that make sense? Because it's very.
I suppose suddenly from a marketing point of view, the guitar companies and the guitar centers, you know, they're happy that, you know, these in a weird kind of way, Kubrick Glover, and I hate to say this, but I think it's the truth. These Joshua Joneses and these Cameron. These guys are the Eric Claptons of this generation, and these guys have never played in bands or don't play in bands. I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Cameron Brown's played in bands. I think he has a band.
But they sit in a studio like this, in a room here, in front of a camera, and they'll fire out 50 songs, 50 songs, and blow us all away. And guys will go, "Wow, I want to be like, Joshua Jones." What's Joshua Jones got, Simon? He's playing a 7-string. Shovel.
Yeah. Oh, it's family. It does nothing for me at all. Could I just say, and they're great guys, lovely guys, and I'm not, I have nothing, but that guitar playing does absolutely nothing for me at all. I don't know what, it's that's my personal view, is that, it doesn't, I was listening to the Cameron Brown thing that Jay did, that he did he's doing some stuff with Cameron Brown there, and it just, what happens is, he starts playing quite nicely, and then it's as if it's kind of, he's got it under control, but only a bit, and all of a sudden there's a kind of in the middle, and you go, what was that?
Simon,
what do that for?
It's no problem.
I'm old and stupid. I know nothing about it. I'm old and stupid, but I want a,
you're allowed to say what you
much
don't
more
like
than
what you like here, and I agree with you. It doesn't inspire me either. Are they technically proficient? Clearly, obviously they are. Obviously they are. But Eddie Van Halen is my Flash guy.
Yeah.
But I'd rather watch Tom Petty. Yeah, I suppose that's the nature of the shows that we're doing. British blues, Peter Green, Eric Clapton. I like to see the guitar being used as a voice. One of the great things that people always said about Eric Clapton and Peter Green is that their guitars were like a human voice. They would make the guitars sing.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, so do I. And I Great Mancini saying that his older brother learned whatever had 3 chords early on. Hang Down Your Head, Don Dooley, Everly Brothers, Duane Eddy.
Awesome.
Yes, you see, Great Mancini, and he probably learnt them quite quickly and was able to do them quite quickly. And get in a position where he could do gigs. And be reasonably okay about doing reasonable gigs. Because it's simple to get into now. And the point about that is, the real point about it is, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And lots of people were doing it, yeah? Whereas now, and I've, been fortunate enough to, sit in front of amazing guitar players, 6 inches away from Chris Buck and Ariel Posen, who are, Chris Buck is an amazing guitar player. He's an amazing guitar player out of close, but he's also, to me, more importantly, he's an amazing guitar player in a band situation.
Yeah.
He understands, the value of just, doing the rhythm guitar bit and doing, interesting, I think that Ariel is in a slightly different position, in that he's in the position a bit more like Jimmy Page, where basically he's in a 3-piece, yeah? That instrumentally Led Zeppelin are a 3-piece, yeah? I'm discounting Robert Plant as a singer, but not being an instrument, which is not really true. But do you see what I mean? I mean, basically, Led Zeppelin, all the great bands are 3 pieces. Guitar, bass, drums. Cream, guitar, bass, drums. One of them happened to sing rather than, not sing. But as we were discussing, the point about that is, I think, what's he called? The other guy who comes on it. I can't remember. Anyway, I've had a discussion with him. He sent me a link of Led Zeppelin at Earl's Court in 1975, and he said, "I'm sure I could see you in the." You can't see me. I'm at the back. But anyway, the point about that, I realised that Jimmy Page, there's only 3 of them playing, so Jimmy Page has got a lot of space in which to make a noise. He's got to fill up a lot of noise, yeah. So you've got to be quite, you've got to have all sorts of chops and techniques for doing that, chords and solo bits over the top of the chords, and which you're playing kind of together. Whereas, and I think people like Ariel Posen, Josh Smith, and all those guys, that basically what they're doing is they're playing in a 3-piece scenario because it's it's economic to play in a 3-piece scenario. So you've got to do a lot, yeah, and that breeds a kind of different thing.
If you guys want a good example of a famous guitar player not being able to play a blues shuffle, do a Google search for the U2, the Edges U2. There's a clip where there's a few guys, and he's standing there and he can't do a blues shuffle.
No, see, he can't.
So he, and identifiably one of the greatest guitar players on one of the greatest bands in the world, and he can't do a blues shuffle. So yeah,
because that's not his thing.
I bet you Kubrick Lover can do a blues shuffle.
Yeah, it's and that thing about being able to do that's easy, absolutely that but because it's quite simple. But blues is not in his tradition. He's a genius. The Edge is a genius guitar player at soundscapes and all of it. He's not a genius guitar player at playing the blues, which is is a limitation of his, and we've all got them. I've got lots of them, but it. Kubrick Love's never heard of a blues shuffle.
Okay, all right.
Good try, Andrew. Good try.
The point that I'm making, Kubrick Lover, is that most of the guys that I know over the years and the music that I've played, the first thing we've learnt, the first thing you've wanted to learn has been the blues shuffle. If you couldn't play the blues shuffle where I was and where I was playing, you weren't going to jam.
Can you, Andrew? Can you demonstrate to Kubrick Lover what a blues shuffle is? Well, get your guitar out. Come on. Yeah, Kubrick Lover. This is what you need to learn.
Let me plug it in. Hold on. Let me plug it in.
Let me plug it in. I will pick up some things while you're. Great Vanzini, we were talking about The Edge. The guitar player from U2 not being able to play a blues shuffle. I hope that's what you meant. That's exactly it, Kubrick Lover. They are. The head's already nodding. Hey, classic blues turnaround there. Brilliant.
That's all you have to do, Kubrick Lover. If you want to be a guitar player, learn that and go to bed and you're a guitar player. Simple.
You're in.
You're in. You got the gig.
Yeah. But I'll go back to my original point, which is that's quite a simple thing to learn, isn't it? That basic blues shuffle is what you can learn pretty quickly, pretty simply. And my feeling is that if you look through the 80s, that you get past punk, and punk had a that you get into, and I think that guitar playing got more and more technical. People were having lessons. People were having lessons. And no, it's fine. No, it's good. No, it's an observation, not a criticism. It's just an observation. That those really amazing, amazing particularly American guitar players that came out in the 80s. So, led by Eddie Van Halen, George Lynch, and whoever else. I
think what we have to remember, though, Simon, is like Eddie Van Halen was a cream and Eric Clapton nut. He could play. He grew up, and that band Van Halen and the band before it, Mammoth, they were a cream cover band. That's what they were doing. It's interesting too, because you know how we were talking about jazz for the last couple of shows, and this is why I'm looking forward to Great Vanzini jumping on. You look at Asia, the album Asia we spoke about a little bit yesterday. You know, those guys were jazzers, and look at the guitar playing that they were doing. Look at Boston with that guy Tom. Very technical guitar players.
And beautifully
Simon,
recorded as well. Yeah, completely. Yeah, and in a
Floyd,
different way to say
very,
Jerry
very,
Garcia or something. Yeah,
yeah. Oh, well, that's right. I think you've hit the nail. So Jerry Garcia is my guitar player.
yes,
You know,
yeah. See, yeah, completely. Yeah. The different kind of things. Yeah, it's that. Yes, the Ramones. Yes, exactly. Kubrick Lover. I know it's all downstrokes and very fast, but yeah, no.
But Kubrick Lover, all the Ramones are doing is that blues shuffle at 180 beats a minute. That's all they're doing.
Yeah, taking a lot of speed and. But you're right. Dun, 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 is still the three chords of which is basically in the blues and rock and roll.
Oh, look, I'm not a Grateful Dead fan, but Simon and I were saying we were agreeing with
Well done,
with the fact that Jerry Garcia is my kind of guitar player because he's an improviser. He's a bluegrasser. He's a blues guy, and he's meshing all that together. And he's not technical. He's not,
and he's not that fast either. He's not a fast, speedy, very technical, kind of, very technical, all those modes and stuff, and being able to, he's not really, he's in one mode and he's doing it kind of thing. So, I think that for me, that, as I say, one of the things about the in inverted commas, the decline of the guitar is that these days it's quite difficult to find somebody who is doing that three chord thing, Now, I think actually they never go away, those things. There's, those, you can spot them. I mean, my kids are teenagers, my younger children are teenagers. So they listen to a lot of, pop music and stuff, I'm au fait with the pop music. And there's one song that I probably you could do it. I can't remember what it's called, but that is Tom Petty's "Learning to Fly."
Oh, it's brilliant.
In fact, it's four chords, but you can sing "Learning to Fly" to it, because I annoy the kids by singing "Learning to Fly" when I ain't got wings when he's playing his song on the radio, but it's still underneath. But my point is that it's not really guitar led, those things. Only I would know that stuff. But it's see, Phil Lesh, you see, it's more my kind of guitar player. But
just
melody
very good
thing.
Very good. Who was Jefferson?
Jorma Kaukonen.
Jefferson Airplane. Airplane was
Jorma Kaukonen. I think that's it. Jorma Kaukonen. Yeah, Kaukonen. Anyway, him. Lovely guitar. Yeah. Hot Tuna Hesitation Blues is one of my favourite songs ever.
It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, but all those guys, they came out of the tradition we're talking about. They came out of rock and roll. They came out of, I've learned to play, some quite simple stuff that's got me into it. It's got, I could play simple stuff. It's got me into a band. It's got me into a band that's doing gigs.
Sure. It's
got me into, I think that's true. Eddie Van Halen, I don't think he resurrected rock, but he, rock was doing quite all right on his own. But he was the next stage on, from someone like, for instance, like,
I think Kubrick Lover's making a good point. 78, it was disco, Simon. It was Saturday Night Fever, and and all of a sudden,
but also Van
Halen come along with their first album, and it's like,
yeah. Well, as I said before, it's like not in the UK, see, because it's punk in the UK,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it didn't have an effect on some people in the UK and stuff like that, because hey. Two Jackson Phil. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, What my other favourite band from that era is a Quicksilver Messenger Service with the great John Cipollina. You could play with a whammy bar. You think first person I really heard to use a whammy bar. Beautiful.
I got your notification, Kubrick Lover. I haven't seen your latest video. It did come up on my iPad, so I will check it out, I promise.
Yeah, I think Kubrick Lover, that's fine. You know, I think there are a lot of people who are computer musicians. You know, as much as they are, you know, you know, I mean, it's more difficult to do gigs and stuff these days. It's, you know, your your audience is different, and your venues to
Jack Cassidy.
Jack Cassidy, yeah, that's right, the bass player.
What a bass player, man! He was cool, still is. Oh,
yeah, I loved all that. Do you know Hot Tuna, Andrew? Do you know Hot Tuna? Yeah, Hesitation Blues. That's what I love that song. Dun, 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 dun.
I love the video clip when they go to Altamont and they go up to Jerry Garcia and he's got a big smile on his face and Full Leash is there and they're going, you know, we're going to Altamont, you know, and then all of a sudden, they're really pissed off because, who got smacked in the face? Was it Full Leash? I think.
I think smacked in the face.
Yeah, it was one of the guys out of Grateful Dead that got hit in the face because they were playing early on in the day, and I think it was Phil. And and then they just buggered off, and as we know, have we done an Altamont show?
No. We need to talk about Altamont. We need to talk about Altamont. That's the title for it. Yeah, we haven't done it. We need to do an Altamont show. God, yeah. Come back and watch the film. Yeah. But see, disco, and you know, it's yes, great bands. Yeah, look, see, we must raise our hats to the people who've died. John Prine died. Right, John Prine.
Yeah.
In this country, I don't know if this means Tim Brooke Taylor from the Goodies, and Monty Python, and all of that. Yeah, so hats off to him.
They're playing the reruns already on TV, Simon.
Yes,
I was a Goody fan when I was 13, 14 years old. Bill Odie was my man. Bill Odie. See, that's why I'm growing a beard.
Bill Oddie, yeah. Oh yeah. And of course Sterling Moss, and
yes.
And one of my favourites that got less because he's a bit less well known, but Peter Bonetti. Do you know who Peter Bonetti is?
No.
Peter Bonetti was the goalkeeper, the Chelsea goalkeeper in the early 70s. He played for England as well. Yeah, with Ron Chopper Harris and and Peter Osgood and Alan Hudson, all the early 70s. But he played for England as well. But he was called the Cat. He was the other goalkeeper called the Cat.
Wow.
And that was his nickname. He's a really nice player. For years he was a postman on a Scottish island called the Isle of Mull, which is weird when he retired. Lovely, really nice bloke. Yeah. So hats off to Peter Bonetti. I have seen "Gimme Shelter" about Altamont, Kubrick Lover. Yeah,
many times. But I answered your post, Simon, last night. I was just watching a documentary on Netflix. So they were talking about. It was an F1, the history of F1, and Sterling Moss on there.
Yeah.
They were talking about how he was one of the first guys. He was one of the first guys not to use the brake. It was a philosophy, Simon. It was a philosophy. The whole idea with Sterling Moss apparently is that if you went around the race course using a brake, that put you in a mindset that was a little bit different from a guy that wasn't going to brake. So he took his lead from Frangini? Fangio.
Well, Fangio, yeah.
Fangio, because apparently Fangio was a guy that would go around and not brake.
Yeah. Yes, great Fangini. He was a British race. He's a hero in the UK, one of the great British motor racing drivers. He never won the world championship, but he was one of the great Formula One World Championships in the in the 50s, late 50s, mid 50s, late 50s.
And we've got a lot of respect for him here in New Zealand, guys, because he took under his wing a guy called Chris Amon, Danny Holm, who went on to become a world champion, and also the guy that started McLaren. So he was all he. So that's why we love him, Simon, because he opened up everything that he had to guys who weren't British. You know, if you're a racing guy and you're cool, come with me.
Yeah.
90 years old.
Yeah, but he's been one of the great, giants of British motor racing, world motor racing. I think one of the first.
World.
Now after him there was Jim Clark, and then Graham Hill, Jackie Stewart.
So apparently, when Sterling Moss was racing, Simon, he muscled through. Apparently Sterling Moss would just he'd take the straightest route through. so people got out of Sterling Moss's way. If he was coming up behind you, you got out of his way.
Yeah. Mid to late 50s, great Vanzini, not not the 60s, is it? Yeah, great guy as well. But, yeah. Ping, ping, ping. Out of the way, I'm coming through. Wonderful, yeah.
Did he race with so was Jackie Stewart
Jackie Stewart was later.
But you sure him. Jackie okay. But see, Jackie Stewart and him had a thing going too, didn't they?
I don't think that Jackie Stewart is the 60s, isn't he? Because Sterling Moss died, he retired in 1961. He had some terrible crash,
but they had some thing going or something. So they were tight.
Oh, I'm sure that they knew each other, and they, yes, absolutely, yeah. Yes, I think that's completely true. That he. It's Mike Hawthorne. There's all those other guys that came sort of slightly after him. Jackie Stewart for sure. Came slightly after him. Jim Clark, Graham Hill. Like those 60s drivers. The great Graham Hill, the great Jim Clark. Gonna anything to it's. Jackie Stewart. It's those guys they're 60s guys, not 50s guys.
Jackie Stewart went over to the States and he did commentary for their NASCAR.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's and it's So he was in the forefront of those great line of drivers. Through as I say, Jim Clark, Graham Hill. And then into Nigel Mansell and Damon Hill. And
that's
Lewis
about
Hamilton.
it. Oh, Blundell. You guys had Blundell there for a while.
Blundell, Mark Blundell, yeah. Well, and of course Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, okay. I didn't want to state the obvious.
Let's not forget Lewis Hamilton. Who is he anyway?
Look, Simon, I love Formula One, and one of the great things about Formula One is, I suppose it's like a guitar player. You either like a guitar player or a guitar style, or you don't. And I've got to tell you that Lewis Hamilton is one guy that... Oh, yeah.
What? God? It drives you up the wall, or...
He's one guy that I'd be happy to see crash out of races.
You'd punch on the nose if you met him. Well done. Lewis,
I love Damon.
Kiwis, yeah.
I love Damon Hill, though. Damon Hill's dad was a racer too, wasn't he?
Graham Hill, the great Graham Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, runs in the family. Yes. Father and son world champions. Probably the only ones.
Yeah.
I think, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I love Damon Hill.
Yeah, great guy, and yes, he was on Top Gear recently. Damon
really?
Hill. Yeah, he was on Top
Oh,
Gear. Yeah.
there was a rumor that he was the Stig for
The
a long
Stig.
time.
He might well have been the Stig for a long time, to be honest. There's quite
Oh,
a good.
okay.
What was that guy?
Yeah, apparently it was a rumor that he was the Stig.
It's always a rumor. I don't know how well kept it was. It's one of those fun things, isn't it? Who is the Stig? It's like no, it's like the fact that I bet loads of people in the music industry, in the TV industry know who the Stig is. But it's fun, but not to be general. I like that sort of bit of mystery.
That
Good
Top
fun.
Gear program when it came out, Simon. Shit, mate, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
Three idiotic blokes trying to get themselves out of shit all the time. I love the Grand Tour. I love all those things, because their stupidity is just a wonder to behold. Let's do something really stupid. Yeah, it's like that they never grew up like the rest of us.
No,
who play guitars. And are still doing stupid things in their 50s. And being dumb. I mean, it's just I can't bring it in my heart to dislike that. We'd all like to be having that much fun, wouldn't we? Arsing about like that.
I love how they give the hamster shit because he's short and he's little, and
Captain Slow, and they just, and Clarkson is the stupidest man on the planet. It's like, it's like, I think a good it is. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it's and you cannot, that sort of chemistry, idiotic chemistry, you cannot manufacture. It just happens, and I take my hat off to them for that. It's kind of
I've got to tell you, I've watched the Australian version and it stinks. I've watched the American version
because it doesn't have the chemistry, does it? They don't have the chemistry of you can't, and in a sense, they're not pretending, are they? They're a bit kind of exaggerated manifestations of it. But the point about those things is that those personalities are based in reality, and they happen to gel together. And you can put people together. And interestingly, you could put them together. Like the new Top Gear, the guy with Freddie Flintoff and Paddy McGuinness, that works really well. And Chris Harris. That actually
we haven't got that yet.
Have you not seen that yet? Yeah,
worth watching.
Okay, because they're different.
Okay,
but they are funny. Because McGuinness is quite
If it's funny, I'll watch it.
McGuinness and Flintoff are the funny northern blokes, blokes, kind of And Chris Harris is the southern, racing driver, and he gets him taking the piss out of it. So it is. Do you know what they've it's not. They're not the same as. Fortunately, they're not the same as Clarkson. So the Chris Evans era, not so good. Really, is a bit forced. Sure. But these guys are a bit more natural and a bit more because they don't try and do what Clarkson, May, and Hammond do. Fortunately, they do sort of their own thing. So that classic thing of Clarkson, May, and Hammond, where they leave you on the side of the road. Anybody's broken down, they go, well, what do we normally do? Oh yeah, drive off. Bye. Leaving them. Well, they don't do that. They tow each other, and they kind of, so there's a bit more group camaraderie in it than.
That circuit though that they had where they would go around and grab times, and the Gambone corner, that
Gambon,
was
after Sir Michael Gambon, the great British actor.
That was phenomenal. And then they'd get these guys there, these famous people, and there. And what time did I do? Did I beat Simon? That's all I gave a shit about.
And they always leant forward, didn't they? They always leant forward on the seats to see what their time was. Yes. Not competitive then. No. What was my time? Lovely stuff. You see, it brings joy to our lives, doesn't it? In a way that
and having said that, joys to our lives. I've got to go, Simon. It's 7 o'clock.
Don't tell me we've got to go and feed your family, or is dinner on the table for you?
I've got to go and take my dog for a walk. She's down here. Going,
Dad.
Yeah.
Tapping her feet.
Greg Vanzini, are you still online?
I think he is. Yeah, he made the last comment. Yeah. So Wednesday morning. 7
Yeah.
o'clockish. Yeah. Cool.
So
I'll
you're
be
going to
there.
talk to us
I'll do
about some jazz fusion. Bring a couple of guitars on board.
We will be questioning you closely on Stommel Yamashita's East Wind and other jazz funk classics.
Probably 2 hours. Great Manzini. I don't think we're going to get anything done in an hour, but
I have no
probably
idea why
2
you
hours.
say that.
Yeah.
Look. There's a bywater to turn down. Let's go down there and have a look.
Yeah. At least 2 hours, I'd say, Simon. Wouldn't? Yeah, that's probably.
I'd set aside a couple of hours. Yeah. Great Manzini. Yeah. So if yes, he's saying I am, which is good. And then
Cool.
we've got to get Sonia on as well.
Yeah.
So Sonia,
Awesome.
thank you for being here, Sonia. I hope you're good. Hope you're safe and well.
Yeah.
So guys, Kubrick lover, Great Manzini, Sonia, and please stay safe and stay well.
Yes.
You know. And thanks for your support, guys. It's really nice to see you on lots of early mornings for me, late nights for you guys. And we'll see you on Wednesday with the Great Manzini. My life in the jazz rock world.
Yeah. Same time as now. And thanks for hanging out with Simon and I, guys. You know, we didn't have much.
Really
we probably had an agenda somewhere, but you know, we never stick to it.
It was hidden. It's a hidden agenda.
Hey, one thing they'll never accuse us of on this show, guys, is that sticking to the rules.
Yeah, focusing. We need Carl to focus us. That what we're saying is we need Carl to focus us on a subject for more than 2 minutes before.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys in a couple of days.
All right, guys. Fantastic. I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye, everyone in the chat. Take care.